Well, guys, obviously Scott introduced me. I'm Josh Boggs, Julie Biel.
Yes.
We are in business as U.S. Short Sale Solutions, and that's an entity that I also am obviously part owner on top of being a realtor with Keller Williams. And I'll just tell you this, I'm still a little amped. One of my buddies works for Keller Williams International, so he just showed me Gary Keller's office down here and everybody. If anybody knows who Gary Keller is, I'm sure you guys do in real estate. So a little amped about that still. This is going to be a little bit different format because we've taught some classes. We're both also licensed truck instructors. Can you believe that? They actually give us licenses to do this. It's crazy. So we've actually had some classes, and but it's always in front of realtors. And believe it or not, what we've done is we talk to realtors about how we do our job. And the reason we do that is really, there's twofold to it. Number one, it proves that, hey, we know what we're talking about, so nobody thinks, hey, what's going on? And number two is, at the end of the day, quite honestly, we've got to put a little bit more of a realization with those realtors that if this is the business that they want to get in, they've got three options. Either they become a short sale expert and start up their own team, they refer out to a vendor like U.S. Short Sale Solutions, what we do, or they just refer them out, period. And that's really the only three options out there, especially with everything going on. Anybody here heard about the MARS legislation that was passed by FTC? Okay, and I'm sure some of you guys have heard about the SAFE Act also as well. Okay. Well, those were some interesting moments. MARS, actually, FTC originally claimed that realtors were pretty much prohibited from negotiating short sales. So go figure. I mean, the realtor's required part of the short sale transaction, yet they're not allowed to do the negotiations. That just, to me, just doesn't make sense. So anyway, so we're here sort of open up what we've got. Scott basically gave us suitcases of cash to talk to you guys today. So we're here, and hey, we're going to do what you guys need. But I guess we'll start off. Julie, yeah, like Scott gave you the background. Julie really is the brains of the organization. I'll give her that.
Beauty and the brains. That's nice.
Brains, yeah. I just get to get everybody hyped up, and then she actually closes the deal. So, yeah,
that's what I do.
She full time. That's all she does, and that's sort of how that works out for me as well. Because being a licensed realtor, I've got many other things that are going on. I'm also trying to get my investment deals going back up as well, and that's how Scott and I met, of course. But she handles a lot of the negotiation process, and a lot of it, guys, is. It's not rocket science, but it's very stressful. Sometimes you got to be able to think outside the box. By a show of hands, I'm just curious, who believes that banks are really, truly wanting a short sale over foreclosure? Wow, nobody even raised their hand.
Yeah, they want it.
Yeah, they actually want it, absolutely want it. Now, why is that? Does anybody have an idea?
You get it off the balance sheet.
Okay, well that's straight up. They make more money? They avoid loss? Okay, that's a good one. I mean, really, obviously, it's pretty obvious, and you guys are all investors, and you guys obviously know a little bit more. Realtors, believe it or not, don't really know a lot of that. Not that I'm dogging all of them, but it just, hey, sometimes it happens. But guys, quite honestly, is with our conversations and some of the banks that we're having, a lot of the larger servicers, Bank of America, Chase, Citi, you name it, behind closed doors, what we hear from them is really interesting and very sort of eye-opening. Is the default rates, obviously for the national default, I was told it's at 12% right now. So everybody, if you look around the room, there's more than 20 people here, at least 2 people are defaulting, right? No, I'm just kidding. But truly, that was a staggering number. And the fact that they want to do short sales is even a bigger thing that they've got to push. But guys, they got to be quiet about it. Because it's sort of a PR kind of move. Because if you guys think about it, and I've had this a lot, and in my listening presentation, sometimes I just want to reach over and strangle these people across the room because, hey, well, we've been doing we've been doing our research, and we just don't really think that we want the payment where we're at, and I can't refinance anymore because it's upside down. So hey, we're just going to go ahead and do a short sale, okay? And then we're going to just buy something else, in a couple months, and we'll get out of it. No strings attached, right? But guys, a lot of those are getting listed, and that's the scary part. So again, to add to the other reason why we teach realtors, it's also hoping that we're trying to educate people that, guys, obviously we all need to have a little bit of ethics involved, and just because sometimes the business is tough and tight, you shouldn't just be running out and just getting everybody listed and then saying, hey, I'll get you that improved short sale, because guys, it's not going to happen. So anyway, you want to add anything to that so far?
Well, it's beneficial to know people that have contacts with these lenders. If you don't, you're going to waste a lot of time. As far as a realtor is concerned, they do spin their wheels. They spend a lot of time on the phone just trying to get the right person to talk to, the person that has the authority to make decisions regarding short sale versus foreclosure and the amount of loss that's going to be taken on that file. So with us, for instance, we actually have a huge Rolodex of direct contacts with a lot of the major lenders, and just recently a lot of the smaller Boss Hog lenders, which are not fun.
Nice.
Yeah, I do have one where he's actually, I can just picture a Boss Hog sitting behind a desk with, with a big cowboy hat on. Those are fun, but just having those contacts and being able to get directly to the person that you need to work with, if you have one particular property that you're interested in, that you want to sell, buy, you have to know the right person. And that's where we come in, and I make my way through and just make it happen.
Do you mean, you don't mean directly to the loss mitigator that's assigned to the file, you're talking about somebody over and above them?
Wherever I need to go. I start with the representative at loss mitigation. If I can't get results with them, I'm going to the VP, or I'm going to the senior VP. Sometimes I even go directly to the investor.
Ah.
So what kind of organization are you?
We're behind the scenes, just third-party processing. So we are the liaison between the seller, the seller's agent, the buyers, and the buyer's agent, and the bank.
Not loss mitigation.
Well, with the bank loss mitigation, yeah. So we're talking about the seller's bank, the seller that's selling the property, the buyer that's wanting to buy the property, and the buyer's agent. So just picture us here in the middle, and we're branched out to everyone.
So what's it called?
The cost?
No, what they call? Like
What are you called?
Oh, U.S. Short Sale Solutions.
Okay.
That's the name of our company, but as a third party, also we got to be careful too. They work with third parties all the time. Has everybody heard of HAFA? Housing Affordability Foreclosure Avoidance? Well, does everybody know that really whoever handles the HAFA processing is an outside company that these servicers hire? And by the way, does anybody know, even though a borrower may be defaulting on their note, that the servicers still get paid? Everybody gets see Fannie Mae sort of smacked everybody's hands a couple months ago with a nice little internal letter that we were actually very fortunate to get a hold of. But yeah, they said, guys, no more of this. Because number one, what is everybody trying to push everybody into right now after falling behind? What do you guys hear is the number one solution? One modification, HAMP, right? Housing Affordability Modification Program. Guys, it's a bunch of garbage. Right. I hope you guys don't mind them to be a little bit straightforward.
Well, the reason for that on the note side is they can put those loans into a performing model. They can sell it for a higher price.
Ah.
That's the reason those banks are looking. The secondary marketing guys are communicating with the lost mint. Oh, let's get it back to performing. We're not hurting some more. We can bundle those off and sell those off to somebody else at 90, 95, 98 cents on the dollar.
So if they do a loan now and get it performing again, then they can do that.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
But most people are not qualifying for the HAMP.
Or if they do, they're back in default in 6 months,
Right.
85% of the time.
Right.
At the longest.
Exactly.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And from the street level, that's what they're telling them straight up is, you can't qualify for short sale because you're not behind. You can't qualify for loan mod if you're not behind. Why don't you guys stop making your payments? And then they start defaulting and then find out, oh, they make too much. And now they're on the road to foreclosure or short sale or deed in lieu due to the fact that, guys, they're not taking payments anymore. Don't kick checks back. I had a guy, he was about $9 grand past due, and he sent him it was like a $4,500 check, and they just sent it right back to him.
That's because they've got to be paid in full. Yeah.
Yeah.
Josh, you mentioned earlier when you were talking about an owner wishing to go the short sale route, or I'll go and buy something else.
Yes.
How realistic, in Texas particularly, is it for that buyer to think he can go through a short sale and go and immediately buy something else?
Well, actually, you added one little caveat. I like that. In Texas,
That's right.
See, that's a big deal. In Texas, guys, you got to remember we're hitting all types of great national headlines, and one of them being because obviously God lives here, right? Anyway, but our real estate market. Hey, and I'm not even an official true Texan. So I come from Indiana. So
Yeah, he's a Hoosier, so forgive him.
I have some experience when I say that. Actually, you're absolutely right. In Texas, guys, they're looking at our real estate market is really still doing well. I mean, our economy is a lot better than everybody else. So when they're doing these AVMs and quick snapshot, just valuations of property, they're looking at Texas as a whole as like, hey, they're rock stars. So what that means on the default side is if they're not defaulting, which is typically the largest reason a short sale is going to destroy their credits because they're missing their secured note payments. If they're not defaulting and they could get a short sale, it might have a temporary hit, but then they're good to go. And underwriting guidelines from Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac usually give them about 2 years for their timeline to be able to buy again. Now that's underwriting guidelines, and I think that's where, I want to say 10 or 15% down. So it's not like they can turn right around and buy with 3.5 FHA, but if they had a little bit more cash, according to the underwriting guidelines, it'll allow them to do that.
But again, in Texas, does that short sale loss go to the owner's credit report?
Depends. Mortgage debt forgiveness, or I think it's closed, Mortgage Debt Forgiveness Relief Act.
Is there some moratorium in Texas?
No, it's actually a national, it's an IRS.
2007 is when it was passed.
2007 bill,
Yeah.
Senate Bill 3648. Gives them, if there's primary residence, gives them up to $2 million if they're married, one if they're individual, of forgiven debt. So that 1099-C, the cancellation of debt, they're not going to get it wiped out. But it's got to be their primary home.
So everybody is still asked on application form, but you have short sales, bankruptcies, etc., etc.
Exactly, and it's going to be there. But you said realistically, turnaround, minimum of 2 years. I've never heard of it anything close to that. I had a Marine that short sold his house in California on his own. He owned his on his own. He got married over here in Texas. He bought a house in about 2.5 years, but also she was on the note too. So I think that had a little bit to do with it, and she had great credit. But that's the closest and quickest turnaround I've seen. And I've even got individual buyers right now that have had short sales coming from Florida and Nevada. And yeah, the lenders in our area, in our section, are telling them, guys, it's got to be 3 years. And that's sort of the recurring thing that we get.
There's no set standard for how it will affect credit.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. I mean, FICO scores and everybody's.
Yeah.
If anybody's out there claiming, they can tell you how much it's going to hit on their FICO score, whatever. Boy, they need to get out of there pretty quick because I think the NFL quarterback ranking is more known than the FICO calculations. Yeah,
Yes, you mentioned you can get hold of the servicer. I noticed that Bank of New York Mellon.
that's a curse word around that.
Yeah, well, I know, because they represent, or they're sending out the NODs for Bank of America, and it was a countrywide loan who was blah, 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 that whole thing. Because I questioned Bank of America on Bank of New York. Now, can you get hold of them? Bank of New York now?
There's always a way.
Yes. I don't remember.
We've got many websites that we use, a lot of resources, and we're members of a lot of.
Well, guys, we'll give you this one real quick. This is a good one, a juicy bit of information. Jigsaw.com. Has anybody heard of it? Guys, it's worth every penny.
What's it called?
Jigsaw.com.
Jigsaw.
It's like a professional LinkedIn Rolodex.
Yeah.
It is, yes.
J-I-G and then saw, S-A-W, and then .com. Jigsaw, like jigsaw puzzle. Guys, great site to be on. And
Why would you recommend that site? How would you basically use it? You just would type in Bank of America lost MIT president or something like that?
Absolutely.
Or Bank of Mellon?
Yeah.
VP?
Or if you happen to come across a name, just maybe a first name or a last name, enter that in, and maybe the bank that they're with, the entity, and it's pretty easy to find. I mean, it's kind of
I use the same thing for LinkedIn to find secondary marketing
Yeah,
managers.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
use LinkedIn as well to find them.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's trying to stay so far away from the public. That's why I love those kind of sites, because everybody's pulling together and sort of exposing everybody that really is decision makers. But you got to know your proper channels. You're not going to run out there and escalate on the first deal you've ever done and expect an answer. You've got to get some history there with them. So,
What are you guys seeing as far as time frames in Texas for a short sale to go through, and then compare that to other areas of the country that you guys are negotiating in?
Right now it's 30 to 90 days.
For a short sale to be approved for you guys? That's awesome.
approval doesn't mean closed.
The
Yeah.
approval letter, yeah.
So you're figuring 30 to 45 days on top of that for a funding, for
Easy.
other documents to be actual certified at escrow, title, and then funding. So about 3 months?
And you require an author to do that, right?
Yes, you have to.
You can't get to 30, 90 days without an author.
Well, they're not dealing with notes.
No.
They're not dealing with notes here. They're dealing with the short sale side.
No, I understand.
Okay.
I understand, but you need an author to buy the house.
Yep.
We can get a little deep into it. Bank of America just announced an Equator I don't know if you guys have heard of Equator before. Equator is more of the web portal and the platform that, in fact, Wells Fargo just joined on, Nationwide, NationStar, a couple others. But anyway, they've announced, and this was a huge win for the short sale community, is that they are no longer requiring buyer restarts. So what that means is if you start already negotiating an offer and that hits the MNP, the minimum net proceeds that that lender's looking for, as long as you get another buyer, if that buyer defaults and walks, if you can get another buyer that can meet that net and basically clear that HUD to be the same, they'll swap the name out, put them on the approval letter, and it takes maybe a week to two. We've got one that we're working on right now for the first time. But that was a huge problem with Equator.
You have to be a licensed realtor to be part of Equator, correct?
No.
No.
I've tried to get in there and I can't figure it out.
Are you saying Equator?
Equator. It's like the Equator line, equator.com. Honestly, Curtis,
No.
yeah.
Can you?
Yep.
Yeah, she would be a lot more expert at the Equator than I would, but I'm sure, yeah, I've been told you can get in there.
I don't know why I asked you that, because I'm not doing them anymore.
He just asked the question to ask the question. Thank you, Curtis.
Yeah.
Be quiet. No.
I have a love-hate relationship with Equator. It's back and forth, so.
Yeah, I can't get on it. I had to hire my realtor to get on it for me.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, you
we
should
have
be. It's a
access
smart thing.
To do that mostly.
That's right, you should be using realtors, Richard. Not ever. Yeah, I guess, you guys are a special breed, and you are in a unique position. Somebody that does short sales like I do, and Julie does, and a lot of them, you guys find these just mainline, streamlined banks that obviously you've got to go through all this red tape on, and the benefit that you guys can bring here is not only make your spread on your note and basically become the lender and do a deed in lieu and then quickly resell it, like Scott's been talking about. That's huge for us. And especially, you're going to make any realtor that you work with on a team look like a just freaking rock star. Because you're going to show them, you're going to get them to explain to their sellers. Guess what? If I come up with somebody on my team that can end up becoming the bank, they're now buying that note. Well, what does that do when it comes to reporting on that note? There's no longer a short sale or a foreclosure noted. It's just done. It's been sold off. And obviously you're buying it. You're not in the business to report to SARMA or all the retail merchant associations. You don't care about that. You're just going to make your spread. So guys, that is a huge, huge advantage that you have going out there with the knowledge you have. I would be dying to get, I'm trying to get his lazy bones to get me some deals left and right.
Lazy bones? Wow.
He's very busy.
What would be the average discount
Good question.
the banks would give on a short sale, as opposed to what they might give on a note? Wouldn't be as great, would it?
No.
So why would they not be more anxious to do the short sales rather than notes? Time might be one of them, because they can get rid of more on the note sale.
Remember how I said at the beginning how you have two different departments in the bank? Loss mitigation is trying to collect. What are you guys seeing as far as your average discount? Somewhere around 75, 80, 88% of market value?
No,
Can I
higher.
get
90?
83.13%?
Okay.
Well, she's cheating. That's VA and FHA, but
That's pretty much the median, and I've gone as low as 70%. So.
But that's a rarity. A little bit more.
It is a rarity, but I'm just saying that there are doable situations and certain situations that you run across to where you just have to fight for that lower market or
Based on the
net
BPO.
settlement.
oh yeah, that BPO is Bible, and that's why as realtors you need to enforce your realtor to go out and meet them at the property with that BPO agent, have them nice, carry a little suitcase, a little full of money. Whoops. Sorry. I'm just kidding, guys. That does not happen. I'm just kidding. Nobody has that.
Oh, you have Julie show
I
up.
saw that. Really? No, it's not that corrupt. Okay, but you get my point. It's not. See, we really stress. We make friends all over the country that do. So I'm going to seminars in Vegas and Seattle, and we meet a lot of realtors that do what we do. Guys, the truth of the matter is there's a lot of stuff that you got to have control over. Okay, these banks are tripping over themselves. And this is a story that Julie and I are laughing about because we just closed this deal, so thank God I can actually talk about it. I don't like to talk about deals until they're closed, just bad karma. But we had been postponing the senior lien holder from foreclosing about 3 or 4 months while we worked on several other deals. Because there was a second, there was 2 M&Ms on there, there was an IRS.
What's an M&M?
Mechanics lien.
Okay.
I just call it M&M. So anyway, finally, we got everybody ready, you know, and by the way, the buyers wanted to ask for money back for repairs, and we're like, come on guys, the short sale as is, and they're like, well, we're walking. We finally convinced them, you know what, it's a heck of a deal still, just go for the take with it. Well, we were ready to close, guys, but it still takes them to get the loan, you know, about 15, 20 days max to get that deal done. Well, we were coming on a bridge for foreclosure. And they said, absolutely not. We've postponed way too many times. We're not doing it again. Absolutely not. It's absurd. We're just not going to do it. You guys lose the deal. I said, guys, look at your minimum net. I mean, you guys are obviously making still a much better loss net decision. They didn't do it. Well, anyway, we hired our attorney, and we had the seller meet him at the courthouse that morning. Did a TRO.
TRO is a temporary restraining order.
Temporary restraining order. It was about $1,700 or $1,900 worth of fees on top of the bond money, but the seller put it up knowing that they're going to get it back. So we got it postponed for foreclosure one more month. They said, absolutely, we're going to foreclose on August 2nd. I said, okay, great. Well, we're ready to close. Well, we finally just closed it. They actually approved to pay for those attorney's fees to help them stop foreclosure. Does that make any sense? Guys, I mean, these are the banks we're getting money from, and they're supposed to be very watchers of our money. That's the kind of decisions we're talking about here. And I hope nobody's worth the banks and going to stab me in the back after I leave here. But guys, they don't even get it themselves. You guys get that? I mean, it's crazy what I see on that. I mean, we laughed when we got them to approve paying the attorney's fees of $1,900. I'm like, yeah, they paid for themselves not to foreclose on it so they could get the deal.
Yeah, we went through
Really?
a lot of loopholes on that one, and the number one thing that I can tell you, when you're talking with the banks and you're dealing with someone, trust nothing, verify everything. So if you're told something by one person, the next person that you talk to can tell you something completely different. So always verify, and make notes for yourself. Okay.
Like you're doing the short sale and Scott actually doing the note purchase. But if you can, like bank, I just don't understand this more. If bank can sell it short sale, right? Why Scott has the business? Because why you want to discount the note to him?
Well, he's a big guy. Have you ever said no to a big guy like that?
Why you want to discount to sell the note instead of selling the property?
Well, he's more the expert on the note buying side. I'll just say this is the short sale side. Everybody knows that that's an option out there.
Then just sell the property. And you don't
But there's no guarantee. If I can call up and say 40 cents on the dollar of the note today, close in a week or 2 weeks,
I'll wire it next week.
yeah, versus it taking them 6 months, a year to sell the property, or they haven't received a payment in over a year, what would you do? Would you take 40% now, guaranteed in hand, or try to wait and make 80 cents on the dollar?
She's the land girl. She'll wait.
Well, that's true. She will wait. You're right about
Because
that.
I'm the real estate side. That's why.
That doesn't- okay,
That's why I have to get your side.
But I'm not the real estate. I'm the investor.
Yeah, you are the investor.
So
There's
it's
a lot of other parties getting paid on a short sale.
Yeah.
Or on a note, it's just a straight up deal. I mean, because we laugh when they don't even consider cash as really any kind of incentive for them to work with a deal. Cash or not, they're still looking for that MNP, that minimum net, which cracks us up. I said, I could close in 2 weeks, we get this approved, it doesn't matter to them. So, yeah, Wendy, they would have to use a little bit of logic, and well, you know, sometimes they don't.
What are some of the things you've seen that's changed over the last 6 months besides Equator and HAFA and all that stuff? I mean, anything major that the banks are expediting things faster? I mean, that would be a guarantee with Wells Fargo and B of A with the implementation. But what about your smaller lender, regional lenders? Are they still moving along?
Yeah, you can really push them along, just depending on who you get, and it's just a matter of working through the channels. I mean, recently I came across a lot of the major banks, Chase, Citi Financial, doing tons of restructuring in their departments. And I talked with many negotiators like myself that ran into the same issue. The file was being just transferred from one person to the next, like on 3 times a week. And so you're tracking down this file, and that requires a lot of time. But just recently, everything is more structured, and they're in line, and they're organized now. So I think that that's been my major hurdle for the past 6 months. But Equator, like I said, it can have its good points and its bad points. It's just a matter of always making sure that the messages get sent through Equator. You have a contact number for the person that's listed in Equator, and you have their direct email so you can email them directly outside of Equator.
My basic question is how many of the short sales that come through you do not get completed and therefore get to the foreclosure stage
I would imagine, I say stage deliberately, because I'd imagine if that happens, you pass the notes on to this guy here.
Absolutely.